been around a long time.
And this is in 1939.
34.
34. Was you born then, Bob?
Sure.
I didn't.
Was you born then, Bob?
What?
Yeah.
I'm just 39.
Bob's 39.
Been working 44 in that spinning room.
Been working where?
In that spinning room 44.
44 years.
Yeah. Went there in 1946.
Do we want to have, we were talking about the difference in, do we want to go into that now?
I'm going to send you.
Okay.
Got some things I'm going to have to do.
Okay, and I know you got to.
I didn't know this was going to happen today. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know when.
Exactly
I
that.
didn't know when either, Bob.
Bob, let me ask you this: as far as your coworkers and so forth, was there anyone really, fearful, just totally, somewhat infatuated to the point that they would just not talk union back those days versus now? Can you see a difference in that?
Yeah, they'll talk it now. Where back then they were scared to say anything.
At all? They would, if you mention union to them, they'd just take off like a.
Yeah, scared.
Well, you still see that in the older folks in the mill, though.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask
You
you
have to
something.
Talk about union,
Well,
and they go,
I'm young folks. I ain't scared.
Well, I know you're not, but
I heard that. You 39.
you're an exception to that rule.
Okay, what I wanted to ask you was the ones that are in the spinning room that are anti-union, they won't take leaflets and they down it and all. Do you have any idea why they feel so strongly against the union?
No, Barney, I think mostly it's like he said, they're afraid. And they don't want people to see them associating with the union or doing anything. You notice how I take and read every paper
Oh, yeah.
you give me.
And sign all the
I'm
petitions
not-
we bring in?
I'm not as scared of nobody. And if everybody could be that way, it'd be different.
Yeah, we'd be 100%.
Yeah, we would.
It kicks the tail.
Wouldn't that be great?
Do you feel, in your opinion, Bob, based upon what you were saying, that if the union were to organize in the right way, in which you're saying you've seen a lot of activity now and a lot of good things that we're doing, do you feel that the unions, over a period of time, if they do the right things, people will begin to really get involved for the right cause, if it's going toward the right cause? Do you think people would be more likely to get involved?
They would all be more stronger, yes.
Good. That's positive. Good.
Yeah, it is.
You got some of those that are afraid. They're really afraid. But if something happens, they want you to help them.
Oh, yes. We have a lot of that. We have people come up, and only time they come up is when they're really feel like that there's been a unjust, some injustice done toward them that was really grossly wrong. And they come forth out of the fact that this is the only recourse that they have is to come to the union for support. And that's when we step in. And once we talk to them, they have a tendency to open up and, come out of that shell that they've been, somewhat pushed into and intimidated into years back. So we have seen a lot of that when people are, put in situations where they're in the corner and have to come out swinging.
You finished?
Yes.
Bob, if you had a chance to join the union, would you join?
You know I would.
Wait.
Yes, he said he would.
I had right after, when I was a union member, the union just they got scared or something. It dwindled and almost completely quit. There was still some of us that was strong. And they made me non-bargaining before I knew I was non-bargaining. Mm-hmm. Took my name off the seniority board, and I didn't know it was off till one of the hands told me it was. Mm-hmm. And after they made me non-bargaining, I couldn't join the union, and the union started growing again. The union representative came to my house, and I sat down and talked to him like I'm talking to you. I told him I cannot join. Mm-hmm. I'm non-bargaining now. I cannot be for the union or for the company, but you'll find I'm as fair a person as you'll ever see, and I'll try to be that way. And I've talked to the supervisors even. When they have a problem, a lot of times they'll come to me or talk to me, and I'm not bargaining. Yeah. They'll come and talk to me, and I tell them, be fair and honest in anything you do.
But let me ask you this, Bob, in regards to the symbol and the image of the union, as far as the symbolic nature of this hall right here, across the street from the main plant. Can you vision, or do you think back in the 30s and 40s that people ever visioned that this would take place, that we could be as open as we are?
No, they wouldn't.
Right. So this is somewhat of I would say
It's people maturing.
people maturing and labor as a whole possibly coming around
age.
come of age. Good point. Good word. Good.
One thing I've noticed, I was at the Miami convention, and I noticed that some of that it seemed to me the strongest group of people there were the blacks, and they've had the shortest history in the union. Can anybody explain that, or am I just crazy?
Well, if I could take a shot at it, we're in that the blacks are more or less stronger and more vocal, and what they feel is right and wrong. I think it goes back to just the struggle that I feel personally that the black people have had to contend with. And history has shown that blacks have always been in a struggle. And I think once you live it, day in and day out, it comes more or less natural and you just instinctively do it. It's a situation, I think, wherein if you would just go out and, talk to someone that maybe have not, blacks now, I see blacks growing up now that has not seen the struggle that I have seen, are not as open, or they look at the struggles that we go through in the 60s, which I was a part of, but in my early teens then, people, if you do not experience that and live it, then there's a different approach and you feel different about it. And I think that is the difference between white and the black race. That's one point that I think some people really hadn't looked at. I think everybody's aware of it, but really not talked about it a lot. It's just the black struggle and the movement that blacks had to go through to win voting rights and et cetera.
Anybody else want to talk about that?
Me? Oh. Let me see. Well, I'm gonna leave it alone because I believe Lewis said it enough.
Okay.
Me? See, Lewis older than me. He know more now. See.
Well, what about Cindy or Bunny? You want to come
Well,
in?
the way
I feel like
the way I
side?
feel about it, it's not a reverse side. I feel like blacks didn't have the rights that they should have had for so long, and then when they do get the rights that they deserve and everything, they're going to fight for them and struggle to keep what they've got. That's the way I feel about it.
Good point. Okay. Is that
I was talking with a fellow the other day, and he was saying that for a long time there were almost no black supervisors. So the blacks were united as workers because they were always against the white supervisors. He says now that you're getting black supervisors, it's just the same old tricks of the supervisors. Black or white, the supervisors pulling against the workers.
Yes,
That's the way it always is.
Yeah, and I think looking at that from that point, from the way you put the question out or the statement, is that I guess once management or supervision, you get that mentality that have to do certain things, and that's what the jobs require, and you're trying to do the best you can. But in my working experience, I have found that black supervisors or people that's put in executive positions and so forth have a tendency to be somewhat even more, I would say, stern than others supervisors that are white, based on the fact that I think it goes back to once you're given an opportunity, hitting the point that Bunny made, you try to excel and do the best you can, and by the image of what management stands for, the average worker, that black supervisor, once they get there, have a tendency to go overboard and even somewhat, alienate a lot of people in that respect. And it do have the point that I want to make is a lot of black workers that I know work under black supervisors and so forth feel that black supervisors are even tougher on them than they are any other race, because I think they look at it as they can do that because they have been put in a different somewhat position than blacks themselves. And there's a lot of things that maybe people don't really understand and look at. And it's very difficult, and blacks talk about it amongst themselves quite a bit. Once a black supervisor get there, they're harder to deal with than a white supervisor a lot of the times.
And one final question. What are you telling your children about the union?
If that's addressed to the group, I guess I can start first because I'm going to sweat out of here. But I'm telling my kids that, number one, religiously, my kids know what I do and what my job requirements are. And they're very strong and very supportive of that. And they know that there's a struggle out here, and they know the difference. And what I'm trying to teach them, the difference between labor and management and what labor stands for, and to be pro-union and to do the right things, because that is what, and try to bring other people together and educate their friends and so forth that they associate with about the labor movement, and give them a little history so that hopefully we can hand down this, our inheritance of a labor movement to our kids, wherein it won't be as difficult for them to grab hold to and to carry on once we're gone. So I'm
going to ask you to say that again and say it in about a third the time.
Third the time.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm doing is teaching my kids primarily what the labor movement is all about, what it represents, and how to continue the struggle after I'm gone, and to carry it on to their kids and so forth.
Okay, I tell my kids that the union, they believe in the union already, and I tell them that I'm fighting for my rights and for their rights, and hopefully they won't have the struggles that we have now, and that I believe they're both, I've got 2 kids, and I believe they'll both be pro-union. I know my daughter already is, she's 16.
Well, my kids, I have 3 of them. And they know what I do in the union. They know why I do it. And they tell me, says, Mama, when you go over that union hall, do you run your mouth like you run your mouth yet on? I says, when I go to work, I'll speak for myself. If I'm in the right, I'm going to say what I got to say. If I'm in the wrong, I'm going to say what I have to say. But anyway, the union is a big part of my life. And the people that works along beside me is a big part of my life. I'm going to explain this to you. The union, 17 years ago, didn't mean nothing to me. Now, it's a big part of it, and it means a lot, and I'm going to stick it out all the way.
Okay, anybody else?
Get it, Ada. You know what you want to say.
No, I don't. But I tell my youngins, they believe in something, fight for it. Stick up for yourself.
That's right.
Come on. Do your thing.
Well,
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters, and my youngest daughter wants to be a lawyer. And they know that I've recently rejoined the union, and we sit down and discuss more or less what it's about, and the fact that no matter which way you go in life, you have to be honest, fair, do the right thing, try to help yourself, pull yourself up, and as well as help other people. And that's just about the whole thing in a nutshell. Which way they want to go in life will really be up to them. And I'm just like trying to lay out a certain foundation here. Financially, I can't do a fantastic job, but being a poor person, I do the best I can. Hopefully, they will have great memories and just a little variety of things that they can relate to later in life that will eventually, do wonders for them.
My children are gone. They're grown and gone, and they even try to tell me what to do.
Well, mine's 3, and it's not, I'm trying to bring him up. I'm teaching him. He does know what the union hall is. He does know art, and he does know the rest of the people that are in the hall. And so he's just got a long ways to go right yet. But I'm going to teach him what's right.
Well, I don't have any children.
Yes, she does. She has us.
All my children.
Okay. Thank you very much. Turn on the exit.